The scream cracked a loop, then nothing but static and our breath. Elena Park said, "Status now." The cabin lights strobed like a failing heartbeat. "Noah Reyes," said power must be dipped. "I am rerouting." A whisper ghosted the channel and bled into silence. Noah Reyes said, "Elena, did you hear that?" The hull ticked as thermal stress crawled across the frame. Silas Ward said, "Stay focused on the payload bay." Earth shrank in the window like a blue eye closing. Director Hale said, "Vesta crew, maintain discipline." Elena Park said, "Confirm crew integrity." The whisper returned close and human, riding the hiss. Noah Reyes said, "Someone is inside our loop." Silas Ward floated too still like a held breath. Director Hale said, "No unauthorized transmissions allowed." The whisper cut clean this time, clear as a knife. A voice said, "Don't trust him." Silence settled like dust, and I felt the craft breathe around us. Elena Park said, "We lock the loop until we know who spoke." Noah Reyes said, "Telemetry is clean, but the voice is in band." Director Hale said, "Proceed by checklist only." We floated in order and pretended we were steady. Silas Ward said, "Payload diagnostics require my presence." Elena Park said, "You move with me, no exceptions." The scream still crawled behind my eyes like an echo. Noah Reyes said, "If someone is spoofing, they know our timing." The cabin hum shifted and the air tasted metallic. Director Hale said, "Record every anomaly in real time." Elena Park said, "We log, we breathe, we do not split." Noah Reyes said, "Copy, Commander." Silas Ward drifted closer than comfort. The whisper rewound itself inside my head and waited. We ran the checklist and each tick felt like a prayer. Elena Park said, "Battery drift within limits, note it anyway." Noah Reyes said, "Loopback test shows a phantom frame." Director Hale said, "Phantoms do not exist, verify source." Silas Ward said, "External antenna alignment is within spec." A faint thump passed through the hull like a distant knock. Elena Park said, "Mark that sound and timecode it." Noah Reyes said, "I have it, channel 3 spike." The cabin dimmed as the orbit slipped into shadow. Director Hale said, "You are approaching eclipse, expect dropouts." Elena Park said, "We expect honesty, control." Noah Reyes said, "I want to believe that whisper was ours." Silas Ward said, "Belief is not a protocol." The dark came down, and the loop grew smaller. Control filled the cabin with rules, and none answered the question. Director Hale said, "Maintain pairing, avoid unsecured chatter." Elena Park said, "A voice warned us against someone on board." Director Hale said, "Treat all unsourced messages as hostile." Noah Reyes said, "Hostile like the truth." The words hung like ice shards and refused to fall. Silas Ward said, "We are losing time for payload prep." Elena Park said, "We are losing trust faster." The comm bars crawled as the earth set behind the hull. Director Hale said, "Crew cohesion is mission critical." Noah Reyes said, "Then say what you are not saying." The loop whined and dropped a tone. The cabin clicked in response. Elena Park said, "We finish eclipse alive, then we decide." The dark softened, but I did not. The hiss leveled, and a childhood song leaked from my memory like light. Elena Park said, "We will anchor in something real." Noah Reyes said, "Say it out loud so I can hold it." Elena Park said, "There is a window and a world, and we will go home." The loop softened, and the starfield felt closer than breath. Silas Ward said, "Home is a vector we calculate, not a hope." Director Hale said, "Focus on systems, not sentiment." The words did not match the ache inside the suit. Noah Reyes said, "Someone cared enough to whisper." Elena Park said, "Or someone wanted us to break." The hull ticked again, softer, like a fading heartbeat. I steadied my voice and counted the seconds. The count gave me a floor, and the fear found its corner. The cabin hummed with low power, and the silence pressed harder than gravity. Elena Park said, "We must remember why we came here." Her voice carried an ache no checklist could erase. Noah Reyes said, "For discovery, for proof, for redemption." He looked at her like the words could save him. Silas Ward said, "We came because orders brought us." His tone was flat, but something sharp hid beneath. Elena Park pressed her palm to the viewport, where Earth spun like a memory slipping away. Director Hale said, "The mission is priority, nothing else matters." The words felt mechanical, cutting away the human weight inside. Elena Park whispered, "Everything matters when you leave it behind." Noah Reyes said, "I still hear my daughter's voice in her last message." The silence thickened, and I wondered if the void ever forgave. The recording blinked alive, a voice from Earth crossing the gulf of silence. A child's laughter spilled into the cabin, thin and fragile as light through cracked glass. Noah Reyes said, "That was last week, her birthday." His smile cracked, and his hands trembled around the speaker. Elena Park said, "She believes you are watching the stars for her." He nodded, but his eyes stayed wet. Silas Ward said, "Emotional distractions compromise stability." His words cut like cold metal, and Noah flinched. Elena Park said, "Human hearts are not a distraction." Director Hale said, "Crew will remain focused on objectives." The voice was void of warmth, like static reading commands. Noah Reyes whispered, "Her laugh is the only anchor I have left." The sound faded, leaving us raw. The crew gathered by the system's wall, the glow of screens painting tired faces. Elena Park said, "We are more than what control demands." She leaned closer to Noah, her voice steady. Noah Reyes said, "I am here because I failed before, and I swore to fix it." His hands tightened on the straps. Silas Ward said, "Failure is the reason I was sent too." His words slipped like a confession wrapped in shadow. Director Hale said, "Crew cohesion requires silence about past errors." The order dropped like a gavel. Elena Park said, "But the past is what built us." She touched the rail as if it was bone. Noah Reyes said, "This mission is the only chance I have to rewrite my name." The silence answered with the weight of truth. Elena Park floated alone near the aft hatch, the hum of fans masking her breath. She pressed her forehead to the metal, whispering something no log would capture. Noah Reyes drifted up, voice low. "You don't sleep anymore, do you?" She shook her head, eyes sharp but weary. Elena Park said, "I see the faces I left behind." He hovered close, the silence stitching them together. Silas Ward appeared in the doorway, gaze unreadable. "You should both rest." His tone was flat, his shadow long. Director Hale said, "Schedule adherence requires full recovery periods." Elena Park said, "Recovery means nothing when ghosts weigh more than systems." Her words floated heavy as iron in the air. Noah Reyes said, "We carry ghosts into orbit." The crew gathered for meal cycle, packets drifting in the stale air. Elena Park said, "We sit like family because that is the only way forward." Noah Reyes said, "Family is what I left bleeding on Earth." His hands trembled, but he smiled at the memory. Silas Ward said, "Family is an anchor or a weight, nothing more." His voice was flat, and the words hung sharp. Elena Park said without it, "You are only bones in orbit." Director Hale said, "Mission structure is family enough." The words fell lifeless, more machine than man. Noah Reyes said, "My daughter's laugh will echo louder than your orders." The silence after was thicker than gravity. Elena Park said, "We remember why we reach or we fall apart." The temperature warning chirped and died, as if embarrassed to be heard. Elena Park said, "Bus B is stable, so why does the cabin feel wrong?" Noah Reyes said, "There is a phase drift we cannot explain yet." Silas Ward said, "Phase drift is harmless if loads are balanced." I watched his hands stay too still, like he rehearsed calm. Director Hale said, "Proceed with payload warm-up sequence now." Elena Park said, "We delay until we certify loop integrity." The hiss in the headset thickened like fog over a runway. Noah Reyes said, "There is a ghost packet reappearing by the minute." Silas Ward said, "Ghosts are for folklore, not flight." Elena Park said, "Then help us prove it is real." The panel light stepped down, then back up, like a skipped heartbeat. Noah Reyes said, "Something is leaning on our power in the bay." Director Hale said, "Warm up or scrub, choose and own it." Elena Park said, "We hold until the whisper is explained." A dull tap echoed from the bay, like a coin in a well. Noah Reyes said, "I need eyes on the release manifold." Silas Ward said, "Access requires command approval." Elena Park said, "You have it, and you have me watching." The bay cameras flickered and painted static over the manifolds. Elena Park said, "Noah, run thermal on the couplers now." Noah Reyes said, "Thermal shows a hot spot moving against flow." And Silas Ward said, "That is impossible unless a valve is cycling." The hot spot slid like a shadow with intent. Director Hale said, "Proceed with warm-up as planned." Elena Park said, "Planned does not match real." Noah Reyes said, "I can isolate the valve if someone holds me." Silas Ward said, "I will go. I know the layout." Elena Park said, "We go together, tethered." The whisper crawled back, faint like breath on glass. A voice said, "Watch his hands." Director Hale said, "Identify the source or ignore it." Elena Park said, "We will not ignore the only honest thing we hear." Noah Reyes said, "Recording marked." The hot spot paused at the release manifold and waited. Silas Ward said, "Delay will cost the window." Elena Park said, "Windows mean nothing if the ship breaks us." The straps creaked as we pulled ourselves toward the hatch. Noah Reyes said, "Tethers locked. Voice channel 2. Director Hale said, "Acknowledge safety posture." Elena Park said, "Acknowledged," and still uneasy. Eclipse ended, but the light did not feel like rescue. Elena Park said, "Control, confirm voice integrity on channels 1 and 2. Director Hale said, "Integrity nominal, no anomalies detected." Noah Reyes said, "Then who keeps riding our air with warnings?" Static rose and fell like a tide under words. Silas Ward said, "We are wasting orbit arguing with noise." Elena Park said, "Noise that knows our timing is not noise." Director Hale said, "Continue to payload warm-up on my mark." Noah Reyes said, "Mark this, a checksum mismatch just hit the log." Elena Park said, "Source?" Noah Reyes said, "Local, but the signature is masked." Silas Ward said, "Masks exist to protect us from panic." Elena Park said, "Masks also hide teeth." The channel hiccuped, and Hale's voice fractured into shards. Director Hale said, "I did not repeat that line." The words we heard were, "Don't trust him again," and closer. Elena Park said, "We keep moving, and we keep our eyes open." Noah Reyes said, recording and mirroring to the backup stack. We reached the bay interface, and the cold bit through the suit liners. Elena Park said, "Noah, you are on the manifold. I am on power." Noah Reyes said, "Copy, arming isolation clamp." Silas Ward said, "I will monitor release status." The whisper came as a breathless thread, almost kind. A voice said, "Left hand, not right." Noah Reyes said, "What did it just tell me?" Elena Park said, "Do not follow unknowns." His glove hesitated, and the clamp stuttered half shut. The panel barked an error, and his voice cracked. Noah Reyes said, "I am fine. I am fine. Keep me steady." Silas Ward said, "Abort the clamp if you cannot hold it." Elena Park said, "He holds. We hold with him." Noah Reyes said, resetting motion, breathing slower now. The clamp slid into place, firm as a verdict. Elena Park said, "Good, log it, and do not chase ghosts." Director Hale said proceed to warm up once stability is verified. Elena Park said, verification first, then your schedule. A faint rattle crept along the bay wall, like teeth on tin. Silas Ward said loose strap, nothing more. Noah Reyes said, strap does not move against vacuum. Elena Park said, mark the sound and its path. The data replay exposed frames that did not exist in live feed. Elena Park said, these frames insert during our focus shifts. Noah Reyes said, they spoof timestamps better than our own logger. Silas Ward said, then your logger is flawed. Director Hale said, no accusation without proof. The proof arrived as a tiny mismatch in a glove pattern. Noah Reyes said, whose glove left this touch on the release cover? Silence stretched, and the hull ticked like a metronome. Silas Ward said, we all brushed that cover. The bay is crowded. Elena Park said, not at that angle, and not during a blackout. The whisper settled into the channel, like a verdict. A voice said, he stood where the camera could not see. Director Hale said, identify the source or cease this line. Noah Reyes said, source is local shadow, not Earth. Elena Park said, we lock the bay, and we stay paired. Silas Ward said, overreach will doom this mission more than a whisper. Elena Park said, truth keeps ships alive. The lights dimmed as if the craft held its breath with us. The bay alarms jolted awake, red strobes throwing shadows across helmets. Elena Park said, we have a forced release sequence starting itself. Noah Reyes said, it is bypassing the lockouts. This is sabotage. Silas Ward said, or error from overloaded circuits. His tone was polished steel, too calm. Elena Park said, circuits do not fake authorization codes. Director Hale said, crew will not use accusations as protocol. The codes scrolled like signatures no one admitted owning. Noah Reyes said, the source lines match an internal login. Elena Park said, then one of us is feeding the system lies. Silence spread thicker than air, each breath loud. Silas Ward said, check me if you think I am guilty. His eyes never blinked, sharp as blades. Elena Park said, we will. The alarms cut, but the panel still hissed. Noah Reyes said, the hatch sensors logged motion we never made. The ship felt less like a craft and more like a trap. We gathered by the nav console, data streams spilling like blood. Elena Park said, look, the override signature repeats every cycle. Noah Reyes said, that is not control, that is a ghost login. Director Hale said, no ghost logins exist in certified systems. Silas Ward said, unless someone seeded them before launch. The words dropped like stones in still water. Elena Park said, explain that, Silas. He stared back, calm, unreadable. Noah Reyes said, logs show your ID touched the manifold release. Silas Ward said, logs can be forged, especially by those with access. Elena Park said, you are the only one with clearance on Bay 2. Silence beat harder than alarms. Director Hale said, crew will stand down from this argument. Elena Park said, we cannot, not if survival is at stake. Noah Reyes said, the system itself is telling us to choose sides. The feed from Earth fractured, words coming broken and doubled. Director Hale said, you must warm up, then the echo. Do not trust him. Elena Park said, that is not your voice, Director. His image flickered, pixelating into static bursts. Noah Reyes said, control is compromised or someone is splicing us. Silas Ward said, or maybe control speaks truth twice, depending who listens. Elena Park said, you are enjoying this fracture. His smirk barely showed. Noah Reyes said, say it, if it is you feeding false code. Silas Ward said, and if it is, would you rather know or survive? The channel shrieked and bled back to silence. Elena Park said, we cut his console access now. Director Hale said, Unauthorized action will breach mission contract. Noah Reyes said, then contract us into coffins. Elena Park hit the command, and sparks answered. The console screens went dark, leaving only the bay lights burning. Elena Park said, we are cut from Earth, now we decide alone. Noah Reyes said, then we lock him out before he locks us down. Silas Ward said, you are mistaken, I am not your enemy. His eyes glimmered with something sharper than fear. Elena Park said, the whispers told us your hands moved in the dark. He said nothing, and the silence was heavier than guilt. Noah Reyes said, say it, admit why you are here. Silas Ward said, I was sent to ensure you never see the real mission. The words carved like knives across the cabin. Elena Park said, what mission? His smile stayed cold. Director Hale said, crew integrity is dissolved. Proceed by command override. But the feed was dead. Elena Park said, then speak, Ward, or we bury you in your own lies. The truth surfaced like wreckage long hidden. Silas Ward said, the agency lied. Your payload is not research. It is a weapon. Elena Park said, you are saying we were sent as mules, not explorers. His nod was slow, deliberate. Noah Reyes said, then why warn us at all? Silas Ward said, because once deployed, none of you return. Silence scalded my throat. Elena Park said, the whispers, were they yours? He shook his head. No. Someone else wants you alive, not me. Director Hale's voice flickered back, distorted. Mission priority is unchanged. Deploy, payload. Elena Park said, over my dead body. Noah Reyes said, then we choose survival, not obedience. The craft shivered like it understood. Elena Park said, from this moment, we write our own orders. The cabin erupted with the sound of locks disengaging. Elena Park said, he triggered the payload arm without command. Noah Reyes said, override it before cycle completes. Silas Ward said, stop me if you can. His hand hovered, steady, dangerous. Director Hale said, deploy as instructed, Ward. Elena Park shoved herself across the cabin, voice raw. Not while I breathe. Noah Reyes grabbed the tether line, pulling her closer. Sparks jumped from the bay panel, bright against shadows. Silas Ward said, you will kill us all resisting. Elena Park said, you will kill more than us obeying. The lights dimmed, and gravity felt crueler in the spin. Noah Reyes shouted, we lock him out now. Elena Park slammed her palm to the console, hard enough to bruise. A siren wailed, and the ship tilted as if the void itself shifted. The hatch bucked under stress, metal ringing like struck glass. Elena Park said, manual, override, give it to me. Noah Reyes said, systems locked, but I can reroute from power bus. Silas Ward said, you are blind to what you fight. The agency already won. Elena Park said, not if we cut their weapon off the leash. Sparks fell like stars across the cabin. Director Hale said, mission failure will condemn you all. Noah Reyes snapped, mission is already dead. He ripped the harness free, breath ragged. Silas Ward said, do this, and you end your world's only shield. Elena Park said, no, this is not a shield, it is a knife. The alarms stretched into a piercing howl, and the void pressed in. Noah Reyes said, clamp shut, lock it hard. The hatch groaned, then sealed with a metallic scream. The lights died, leaving only the pulse of emergency glow. Elena Park said, we own this silence, not them. Noah Reyes said, backup power online, give me 30 seconds. Silas Ward said, you think silence saves you? It only hides the knife deeper. His voice was steady, but his eyes glinted with fracture. Elena Park said, then speak what you truly are. He turned, face half lit, words sharp. I was sent to erase witnesses, not payloads. The confession seared like fire across the cabin. I'm dead. Noah Reyes froze, breath stuttered. You were never crew. Elena Park said, no, he was always the blade. The backup glow returned, dim green over pale skin. Silas Ward said, you should have let me finish it clean. The ship creaked, alive with tension ready to split. The craft shook as if the void itself gripped us. Elena Park said, he admits it. We restrain him now. Noah Reyes said, tether cuffs, give me your arm. Silas Ward twisted faster than expected. His elbow struck Noah, spinning him off. Elena Park lunged, teeth gritted, slamming Ward to the bulkhead. He grunted, blood flashing across pale skin. Director Hale's voice hissed through static. Do not harm him. He is mission essential. Elena Park shouted, he is executioner, not essential. Noah Reyes gasped, hold him down, I have the cuffs. They fought in silence, broken only by grunts and alarms. Ward spat, you have no idea what waits outside. Elena Park said, we know enough. It is you we fight. The cuffs locked with a sharp metallic snap, echoing like a verdict. The silence after the fight felt heavier than screams. Elena Park said, he is bound, but his lies are not. Noah Reyes said, he confessed to killing truth itself. Silas Ward said, you think truth is your ally, it will burn you quicker than me. His voice dripped with poison, though his wrists bled. Director Hale said, control confirms payload is armed regardless. Elena Park said, then we will disarm it ourselves. Noah Reyes said, together or not at all. The ship hummed, as if mocking us. Elena Park leaned close, voice low. We will survive, even if survival scars us. Silas Ward smiled through blood. Survival is not what waits, only the void. The words rattled like chains across steel. We stared at him, bound but unbroken, and knew the worst was yet to come. The cabin drifted into uneasy quiet, every surface humming with strain. Elena Park said, he is restrained, but the system is still armed. Noah Reyes said, the code runs deeper than we thought. Silas Ward said, you cannot kill what was born to trigger. His wrists bled against tether cuffs, but his eyes were steady. Director Hale's voice cracked in static, deploy, or be replaced. Elena Park said, we are already replaced, but not erased. Noah Reyes said, I can rewrite the bus if I risk the main battery. Elena Park said, do it. Risk is the only truth left. Sparks flickered on the board like nervous stars. Silas Ward whispered, you are tampering with a warhead. Elena Park said, we are tampering with survival. The silence was heavier than fire, waiting for something to break. The ship trembled as if alive, warning lights racing across displays. Noah Reyes said, the main battery dips, we have maybe 4 minutes. Elena Park said, then cut control out entirely. He pulled cables loose, sparks tearing through shadows. Silas Ward said, without control you drift blind into silence. Elena Park said, silence is better than slaughter. Director Hale broke through faint, distorted. You misunderstand the payload. It is not yours to keep. Elena Park said, then it is not yours to use. Noah Reyes shouted, clamp rerouted, control channel severed. The comm screens went black, the last tether to Earth severed. Silas Ward said, now you are prey to what waits beyond. Elena Park said, we are prey only if we surrender. The craft groaned like a wounded beast, its voice filling the void. The console died into silence, then a faint whisper bled through. A voice said, you severed Earth. Now listen closer. Elena Park said, it is not control, it is something else. Noah Reyes said, the same whisper from the start. Silas Ward said, the ghost you follow will undo you. The whisper repeated, don't trust him sharper now. Elena Park turned, eyes locked on Ward. It was never noise, it was warning. Noah Reyes said, then who is sending it? Ward sneered, blood streaking his face. Someone who knows more than you can survive knowing. Elena Park said, truth burns, but silence kills faster. The hull ticked again, like knuckles against glass. Noah Reyes said, "The ship is not alone." A long silence stretched, then the whisper simply breathed. The void outside shimmered, stars bending as if liquid. Elena Park said, "Do you see it, or am I breaking?" Noah Reyes said, "I see it too, light folding." Silas Ward said, "Now you meet the true payload, not weapon but door." Elena Park said, "Door to what?" His smile was jagged. "To where silence is louder than screams." I endured to way around. The shimmer thickened into a moving wall. Noah Reyes said, "If this is the destination, then Earth lied to us all." Elena Park said, "We decide whether we cross or close it." Silas Ward said, "You cannot close what is infinite." Director Hale's voice bled faint, "Proceed, complete transit." Elena Park said, "Transit means extinction." The ship groaned as if agreeing, panels shaking loose. Noah Reyes said, "We either kill the door or step through." The shimmer pressed closer, pulling light into its heart. Elena Park said, "If we do nothing, it swallows us whole." Noah Reyes said, "If we fire thrusters, we may burn the core." Silas Ward said, "Fire, and you destroy your only way home." Elena Park said, "Home is a lie they fed us." Her voice shook but did not break. Noah Reyes said, "Ready thrusters, count me in." Sparks lit as systems groaned. Director Hale's voice shrieked across comms, "Stand down or you will condemn billions." Elena Park said, "Billions already condemned if we obey." Silas Ward screamed, "You fools cannot fight the infinite." Elena Park said, "We are not fighting it, we are closing it." Noah Reyes said, 3, 2, 1. Thrusters roared, and the light shattered into fragments of night. The light broke like glass, and the ship shuddered into quiet. Elena Park said, "Status, talk to me." Panels flickered back with stubborn life. Noah Reyes said, "Thrusters stable, heat within margins." The air tasted of metal and fear. Silas Ward said, "You closed a door you cannot name." His smile was a wound that would not seal. Director Hale bled through as a whisper of authority. "Return to plan and complete deployment." Elena Park said, "Your plan ends here." The hull ticked like a clock that lost its hour hand. Noah Reyes said, "We live, and the void is receding." Silence answered, like a long exhale. We floated in the aftershock and waited for the next truth. The payload icon glowed like a coal that refused to die. Elena Park said, "We cut it loose and let it drift to nowhere." Noah Reyes said, "Ejection vector must miss everything we love." He traced a path like a prayer on glass. Silas Ward said, "You will arm it by touching it." His voice was ice poured on a wound. Director Hale said, "Tamper further, and you end more than yourselves." Elena Park said, "You ended us when you lied." The ship hummed, choosing sides with every tremor. Noah Reyes said, "I can spoof the arming handshake." He breathed slow, as if each breath carried a life. The whisper returned, soft and near. "Left hand, not right." We did not look at Ward when we listened. We armed the lie so we could disarm the truth. Elena Park said, "Handshake on my mark." Noah Reyes said, "Spoof ready, pulse in 3. Cabin held its breath like a chapel. Silas Ward said, "Once you start, there is no recall." Elena Park said, "Good." The code struck and folded like metal under heat. Noah Reyes said, "Payload reports safe, but it is blind." He did not smile. Director Hale hammered the channel with orders that broke like surf. Elena Park said, "Jettison path locked, ignition in 20. The whisper threaded the room. Now. Noah Reyes hit send, and the bay rumbled like a heart letting go. We felt lighter, and the ship believed us. The canister spun into dark like a seed that refused a field. Elena Park said, "Burn the vector and keep it lonely." Noah Reyes said, "Igniting trim thrusters now." The starfield rolled and steadied. Director Hale said, return payload or face consequence without map. His threat felt smaller than distance. Silas Ward said, you traded one death for another. Elena Park said, we choose the one that does not erase cities. Noah Reyes said, vector clear, decay path clean for centuries. The whisper faded to a breath, then to nothing. Silence remained, but it felt earned. We floated, listening to a ship that finally sounded like ours. We recorded a message that did not beg. Elena Park said to anyone still listening, we are alive because we chose each other. She let the words rest before the next breath. Noah Reyes said, tell my daughter we saw the dawn and sent the dark away. His voice shook and then held. Silas Ward said, you think this ends, but doors do not forget. He looked smaller than his shadow. Director Hale did not answer, and Earth was a quiet jewel. Elena Park said, we return when we heal, not when ordered. The channel hummed like a star about to sleep. We waited, and the ship drifted, and one last whisper crossed the loop. You listened.